Hello and welcome to the Completing IRS Form 1023 Application for Recognition of Exemption class. My name is Susan Woods. I respectfully request that you don't share this class material with anyone. It is a copyright notice. All rights are reserved. No part of this document may be reproduced or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of LCM Educational Resources, LLC. Again, my name is Susan Woods. I started a 501c3 nonprofit organization in 2003 called Comprehensive Community-Based Solutions Incorporated. Underneath that nonprofit organization, I added a program called Panorama Computer Learning in 2003 and the Emerging Leaders Mentorship Program for Black Male Youth in 2008. I've also facilitated several classes for nonprofit professionals since 2007, and I have enrolled over 700 clients. Some of those classes include grant writing classes, how to start a 501c3, board management, and many others. I'm a three-time graduate of Winthrop University in Rock Hill, South Carolina. I earned a bachelor's degree in business administration, a Master of Arts degree, and a Master of Business Administration degree. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and my hometown is Clio, South Carolina. The types of services that I provide clients include the following. I facilitate instructor-led classes. I record on-demand classes. I provide private consulting services for nonprofit professionals, and I also provide private 501c3 application services in which I complete the 501c3 application packet for my clients from beginning to end. The class overview for today. The Completing IRS Form 1023 Application for Recognition of Exemption on-demand class teaches you how to complete the application to secure your 501c3 nonprofit status. What is a 501c3 nonprofit? I want to just give you a little bit of background information about the 501c3 status before we jump into actually creating or completing the application. A 501c3 nonprofit is the most advantageous category of nonprofits because you can attract tax-deductible financial support from the public and various grants. The advantages of nonprofits: you are exempt from taxes, you have the right to solicit funds, there are low postage rates, it has a legal life of its own, continuous existence, and fiscal year flexibility. So you don't have to pay taxes on any revenue that you generate for your nonprofit organization. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. You have the right to solicit funds, meaning that you can tell someone if they give you an investment, then they are able to write it off as a tax deductible write-off. There are low postage rates. I'm sure you've seen envelopes that have a stamp on it that says nonprofit, where you get a special rate as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. A nonprofit organization has a legal life of its own, meaning that all of the business affairs are separated from your own personal affairs. You should have a separate bank account, for example, for your nonprofit, separated from your own personal account. Your nonprofit organization should have some type of clause indicating that it's going to have continuous existence. Even if you decide that you don't want to be a part of the nonprofit any longer, there should be some type of a sustainability plan in your bylaws to stipulate how your nonprofit will continue if you decide not to continue with it. And then fiscal year flexibility. That means that you don't have to adhere to a calendar year from January to December for your fiscal year. You can have a fiscal year that ends in any month of the year that you choose. The disadvantages of nonprofits include out-of-pocket expenses. That means that you will have to pay out-of-pocket expenses to get your nonprofit organization started, depending upon the complexity of your nonprofit. There are incorporation fees. The IRS charges an $850 processing fee in order to process your application for recognition of exemption. There's legal paperwork. You have bylaws, you have articles of incorporation, you have the conflict of interest policy, financial data. So there are several types of legal paperwork that you will have to complete. There's a lack of control. You don't control your nonprofit organization. Your nonprofit organization is actually governed by a board of directors. There's little flexibility once you submit your bylaws and they are approved by the Internal Revenue Service. Then there's little flexibility in changing the way you operate your nonprofit organization unless you submit amendments to the bylaws. You're going to be scrutinized externally from other people who are in the community. They're going to be looking at your nonprofit organization to make sure that you are adhering to the promises that you have made to the community. And a nonprofit organization can be time consuming, especially when you first launch your nonprofit organization. It's going to take a lot of your time to get everything organized and operating efficiently. So those are some of the disadvantages of nonprofits. But I have some people to say, well, in their opinion, they're not disadvantages at all. So it all depends on how you look at these different items listed here. Now, another important point I want to make before we jump into actually completing the application is the name of the nonprofit organization. It's very important to choose a name for your nonprofit organization that is going to allow you to grow over the years. The name of your nonprofit organization should be a very broad name because, like I said, you want to be able to grow over the years with a name that makes sense with the different programs that you're going to operate underneath your nonprofit. So I have a diagram here to demonstrate exactly what I mean. The organizational name will be the name that's tied to your employer identification number or your EIN. And then underneath your organizational name, you have the DBA programs. DBA meaning doing business as. So your organizational name could be one thing, and then you're doing business as the name of the programs that you're operating under your nonprofit organization. An example of what I'm talking about. My nonprofit organization is called Comprehensive Community-Based Solutions Incorporated. My EIN number is 421672537. Underneath the nonprofit organization, I have provided some examples of programs that I could have operated. Doing business as Computer Coders Program, doing business as Emerging Leaders Mentorship Program, or doing business as Microsoft Literacy Program. What this means is, in the community, we may be promoting the Computer Coders Program. Maybe this is a program for youth to learn how to write computer code. So everybody in the community may know us as the Computer Coders Program, and so they write their checks for Computer Coders Program, and they may never know exactly what the name of the organization is because we promote ourselves underneath the DBA. That's perfectly fine. On your bank account statements, you will have your organizational name listed first and then the DBA name listed second. So I say the organizational name is like the mother and the DBA is like the child. Form 1023 Attachments. The IRS Form 1023 Application for Recognition of Exemption includes 7 attachments. Now this is the application. The Form 1023 is the actual application that you complete in order to be considered for 501c3 status from the Internal Revenue Service. And that application requires you to attach the following 7 documents. Number 1, Articles of Incorporation. 2, Bylaws. 3, Narrative of Activities. 4, Financial Statement or Financial Data. 5, Fundraising Strategies. 6, Conflict of Interest Policy. And 7, Partnership Collaborations. These attachments must be included in your application packet along with your application, your IRS Form 1023 application. So these attachments would appear after that application. And we'll talk more about that later. So let's briefly talk about the different attachments, and I have them listed here in the order in which they were listed on the prior slide. So the first attachment, number 1, the Articles of Incorporation. So you will have to write the Articles of Incorporation. The Articles of Incorporation is a legal document that is filed with the Secretary of State. So whatever state you reside in or whichever state you decide to operate your nonprofit organization in, you will file your Articles of Incorporation within that state. Now, after the Articles of Incorporation are approved by the Secretary of State, then the Secretary of State's office will send back to you the articles with a stamp on them indicating that they have been approved. On that stamp, there will be a date in which the articles were approved. You want to make a copy of that documentation, the stamped articles, and include the stamped articles in the Form 1023 application packet. The reason for that is because the federal government, which of course the IRS is a part of, requires that the state approve your incorporation in order for the corporation to be approved on a federal level. So state approval is first and then federal. Second document, number 2, the bylaws. The bylaws are considered the policies and procedures manual for nonprofit organizations. So your bylaws stipulate everything regarding how your organization is going to work from beginning to end. And this class is not intended to talk about the bylaws and how to write the bylaws, so I would really recommend that you maybe do some homework and maybe Google bylaws just to see what the bylaws contain, because they are very, very important. Number 3, the narrative of activities is the third attachment that you would include in your application packet. The narrative description of activities is also known as program descriptions, and it includes the following components: the problem statement, the goals, the quantitative and qualitative goals, your target audience description, the service areas, specific services, the implementation strategy, your financial budget, your evaluation and reporting. So the problem statement tells the Internal Revenue Service representative that's going to be reviewing your application what issues you are planning to resolve in the community that you're planning to serve. And then you're going to list your goals. The quantitative goals talk about if you can put in a number, how many people you're going to serve or how many classes you're going to offer, whatever it is, you have to list it quantitatively. And your goals also have to include qualitative goals, which measure changes in behavior of the clients that you're going to serve. So if you're going to serve youth, a qualitative goal could be to improve the confidence level of the youth participating in the program. Your target audience description describes the people that are going to be participating in your target audience. A very clear description which includes the age, race, educational level, income level, where they live. Every demographic profile item that you can include here would be very beneficial. Service areas specify exactly where you're going to provide those services for your clients. The service areas could be state, it could be county, it could be a small community, but you have to be very clear about how or where your services are going to be offered. And then we want to talk about the specific services you're going to provide. What exactly are you providing? For example, with the Computer Coders program, we're providing the opportunity for youth to learn how to write computer code to prepare them for careers in computer technology. So you want to be very specific about the services that you're planning to provide, whatever they may be. And then your implementation strategy explains exactly how you're going to roll out your services. For example, you can start with, we're going to start the day with exercise, or we're going to start the day with breakfast, and do a timeline on how things are going to function on a daily basis. Your financial budget explains exactly how much money you would need to operate your particular program. And then the evaluation and reporting piece deals with how are you going to tell the community, how are you going to explain to the grant funders, the people who invest in you, how are you going to tell them how you're making progress and how you are doing. So that's the evaluation and the reporting piece. The fourth attachment is the financial data or the financial statement attachment. And this is where you're going to list your forecasted revenues. No one knows exactly how much they're going to get from the nonprofit organization through grants, through fundraising, through investments. You don't know. So you have to forecast those revenues. But you should know what your expenses are going to be. How much money do you need to provide the program services? So everything you need to provide for the Computer Coders program, how much does that cost? Do you need computers? Do you need books? Do you need a facility? Do you need what do you need? And then the operating costs. How much is going to cost to operate? Are you going to have to pay some type of utility? Are you going to have to pay some type of rent? What are the operating costs? And then personnel. Are you going to have to hire teachers? Are you going to have to hire um, subject matter experts in computer coding? All of those things you should be able to list with the knowledge of how much they're going to cost, because you have to do the research to find out how much they're going to cost in order to create a budget. So once you tabulate your total expenses, let's say your total expenses come to $50,000, then your forecasted revenues have to equal $50,000 or more. The fifth attachment pertains to fundraising strategies. How are you going to raise money for the budget? What methods are you going to use to raise money? There are two primary ways or two major ways of fundraising. You have traditional fundraising strategies in which you go out and you just do the normal things like direct mail. Maybe you send mail, maybe you send letters or postcards. You can do telemarketing. That's a traditional way of raising money. You can host networking events. You can host pageants. I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of traditional. Just think of ways that you can creatively raise money. Now, the other way to raise money that's becoming very, very popular and more innovative will be social media. Social media is one of the primary platforms that people use nowadays to raise money for their nonprofit organizations. And some people use a combination of both, the traditional and innovative, but it's very important that you have a robust fundraising strategy in place in order to provide community services. Because remember, it takes money to make money. So in order for you to provide the services that you need, you have to have money to do that. The attachment number 6, conflict of interest policy. It's a document that demonstrates that the nonprofit organization is created for the benefit of the community. It's a very long document, but like I said, the gist of it is that this organization is created to benefit the community. You have to have a conflict of interest policy in place to assure people that you are not creating this organization for personal gain. Number 7, the seventh attachment, is partnership or collaborations. You want to develop partnerships in the community so that you can serve mutual clients. So let's say that you are serving youth. Well, which other nonprofit organization in the community or whichever business, it doesn't have to be a nonprofit organization, it could be a private business, but which nonprofit organizations or businesses serve the same youth group that you serve? Once you figure that out, for example, schools will be a perfect example, then you want to develop some type of partnership agreement to provide services for them. For example, you may provide a service for them that they don't provide currently. So you want to meet with them to discuss whatever synergies or commonalities that you have, and then you want to create contracts that describe the purpose of the partnership, sets the expectations of both parties, and how long the partnership is going to last, or the partnership duration. Now, we're getting close to completing the application, the IRS Form 1023. Again, the IRS Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption is the application packet that must be completed in order for you to be considered for 501c3 status. And we're going to actually walk through the steps. This is just a little screenshot of what the first page looks like, but we're going to walk through the entire application in our next video link. So, the IRS Form 1023 application is divided into 12 parts. Part 1, identification of applicant. Part 2, the organizational structure. Part 3, required provisions in your organizing document. Part 4, narrative description of activities. Part 5, compensation and other financial arrangements with your officers, directors, trustees, employees, and independent contractors. Part 6, your members and other individuals and organizations that receive benefits from you. And when it says your and you, it's referring to your organization, and you meaning the organization. your history, which is your organization's history, your specific activities, your organization's specific activities, financial data, public charity status, user fee information, and the schedules. So again, this application packet has 12 parts that we will complete. Okay, we're at the final slide. IRS Form 1023. We're getting ready to actually start completing the application. After completing the IRS Form 1023 application for recognition of exemption, you want to mail the application along with the 7 attachments and the $850 processing fee to the Internal Revenue Service. The IRS requests 120 days to process your application. So to get started with completing the application, you have to follow these steps. 1. Go to www.irs.gov. Once you are in that website, in the top right corner, type Form 1023 in the search field. Once you receive the search results, look for Form 1023 instructions, a link for Form 1023 instructions. Print those instructions, and then return back to the search results and locate the link for Form 1023 Application for Recognition of Exemption. You want the one with the revised date of 2006. You don't have to print it. You just want to pull it up on your computer screen because you're going to actually type the information in the application as I go along with the demonstration. Okay, so this is video number 1 of a series of videos that I have sent to you to walk you through the steps of completing Form 1023. Now we're going to go to video number 2. Thank you.